Hey guys, today for our art assignment, you're just going to use some paper, a pencil, an eraser, or a pencil with an eraser, some colored pencils or markers. So I'll give you a second to make sure you've got all of that stuff. What we're going to do today for our assignment is a Patriotic Zentangle. And you guys are probably like, what is that? A Zentangle is a drawing with a lot of different designs and different textures. And what I mean by texture is we're going to show different lines and circles and shapes together that make something look smooth or bumpy or woven or pokey and things like that. But we're going to do it in this cool artistic way. So the first thing I want you to do actually is to divide up your paper by putting a couple big lines on your paper. So for example, I might do like big swirly line there. I might do another swirly line there. They don't have to be swirly, they could be straight. They could be jagged if you want. I might do one like that. Maybe I'll do another jagged one there just for fun. And maybe I could do a swirl here and pretend like it kind of looks like that. Anyway, the big idea is that you're going to break your paper up into different sections, and in each one of these sections we are going to fill it with some different patterns. And so this is like a really big section here. So I'm trying to decide if I want to break that up one more time. I might do that. Whoop. Might break that up one more time. Okay, so here are my sections. If you want, you can outline them with like black or something to make them really pop, so you know where the outlines are of the different sections, but you don't have to. So then what I'm going to do is take, since we want it to be kind of patriotic for Veterans Day, which is coming up on November 11th, I'm going to use red and blue for my main colors in my designs here. So I'm going to get my red and my dark blue. Okay, now we got to decide what kinds of patterns we want in these things. So this one right here, this swirl, which is kind of cool, I think I might put some little zigzag patterns all the way around. Oops, the outside line. Just little triangular looking mountainy zigzag kind of things. And then on the inside of those zigzags, maybe I'll choose to put some lines. So these are different patterns, different lines, different textures going in to each of these sections. So then I might choose to do something different. In the other part, I might choose to do like bubbles or something. You do not have to choose the same ones that I'm doing at all. I'm just trying to give you some ideas of where you might start. And I kind of started in a hard spot, so I apologize for that, but I probably should have started in one of the bigger areas. Okay, and since I didn't outline mine, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and so you can either leave it or you can go in and color in the background. Like say I wanted to make the bubbles stand out, so I was going to color the background in blue. And then I could either leave those bubble balls like that, or I could go in and, you know, know how if you're drawing a balloon or something like round, sometimes you'll put like a little line to show like that there's a little reflection there, like a bubble. So I might go and do that on all my circles to make them look like bubbles. Yeah. So that's interesting. Okay, so I did blue and red, so I think I'm gonna do a design right here on the outside of this one that's blue. One of my favorite ones to do is ones that kind of remind me of the icicles on Frozen. Have you guys seen Frozen? You just do like a line with a little ball at the end, and it looks kind of like a little icicle. And just a bunch of different kinds of sizes, like you're drawing ice coming off of those trees, like that one scene in Frozen with Sven, and he gets all wrapped up in the icicles on his antlers. Okay, and so then we have this side, but maybe instead of coming off of this line, I'll come off of the circle I did. Like this, maybe. Oops. Something like that. So this kind of reminds me of Captain America, which is good because we're supposed to be making something patriotic for Veterans Day. Okay, I kind of feel like I want whatever's in this circle right here to be red. I kind of want it to be like a snail again, like that first one, so I might do something like that and then figure out some cool design to go in the middle. I'm going to think about it. Alright, so I need something big for this big space. Some kind of a texture or a pattern. Maybe I'll do bricks. Bricks are kind of a cool texture. So I'm going to start with lines like this. Okay, I'm going to start drawing some bricks. Okay, so when you're stacking bricks in real life, you wouldn't put a brick on top of a brick because you don't want a crack to happen right next to a crack. So you stagger them. So the next brick would be off center like that. So you would put the lines in the windows, might be another way you would hear that. Okay, so there's the start of my bricks, but I want my bricks to look real, sort of real anyway. So I'm going to kind of shade them on one side, like that. Make them look a little bit more realistic because they'll have a little bit of shading there. Again, you don't have to do this. You can choose what you want yours to look like. I'm just trying to give you some ideas to fill that space. I want you to fill the whole space of your page with red, white, and blue in honor of our veterans, our soldiers who have served in the military. I'm betting most of you know at least one veteran who has served in the military. my generation, almost everybody's grandparents were in the military. So that would be like you guys' great grandparents. Most of them were probably in the military. Most of them, not everyone. And your grandmas might have been, your great grandmas might have been someone they call Rosie the Riveters, which were the women that took over the men's jobs in making airplanes and things like that when the men were gone at war. Which is kind of cool because that's how women started getting jobs in the workplace instead of being standard as being stay at home. Now they could go out and get jobs. There's a movie called A League of Their Own about women playing baseball, which is kind of a cool movie. I love baseball, so that's one of my favorite movies. Okay, so there's my bricks. They kind of look like they have a little bit of a texture, like you could feel it almost. And that's the point of this whole assignment, is to explore texture, different lines and shapes that look like you might feel something if you saw them. Okay, so I'm going to do something in here that's red. Maybe I'll just do, I think I'm going to do an extra line going through here. And then I'm going to do checkers. So, if you've ever seen checkers, you know that every other one is light and every other one is dark. Whether it's black and white or red and black or red and white. Checkers skip one. So it almost looks like one of your pumpkins that you might have just had for Halloween and you carved it and they're missing teeth. Whoop. Checkers. Okay, so now I need to come up with something big and blue for this one because I don't really want to have red next to red, which you can, but I think I'm going to do blue here. Something big and blue. If I had live class with you, I would ask you for suggestions, but since I'm recording it, I gotta come up with all my suggestions on my own. So, let's see, what would be a good texture? I kind of like the idea of doing like a bunch of little rocks. I already had bubbles, but now I want to do rocks. So how am I going to show the difference between them? That's going to be my challenge. First I'm going to start with drawing. And do a big one right here to take up some space so they're not all the same. So big round rocks, but I don't want them to be like bubbles. So I probably need to do something like this where I'm showing different shadows or something on them to make them look like rocks instead of bubbles. I need a pencil sharpener. I'm gonna go grab one really quick. I found my pencil sharpener. Yay! Okay, so we were making rocks, and I wanted to make my rocks look kind of realistic with a texture, kind of like this, but not exactly like this because it's right next to it. So I think what I'm going to do, sometimes, if you want to show a shadow, you can do something like that, and some people call it hatching. But instead of drawing actual shading, you're just giving like the idea of shading by doing little lines or marks instead of doing the full-on shading. So I'm just going to do that real quick to make these look more like rocks. Actually, they kind of look like puppy paws or something like that. And I'm putting them all on one side. You don't have to do that, but I'm putting them all on one side because if the light is over here and the dark is over here, the dark would be casting the shadow on the same side, technically, of all of them. Now, I'm using colored pencils, but as I said in the beginning, if you have markers, you could use markers instead. You could even do all this with pencil and then go back over it later if you want to. So I think it would look better if I colored in the background of this, just because it's nice to have both positive and negative space. I'm going to give you a second to think about what you think that means before I tell you what it means. You think positive and negative space means. Now, why do you think you would want to have both? So I'll give you a hint here that the rocks are the positive space and the dark blue background is called the negative space. So hopefully that helps you formulate your guess in your head, your hypothesis about what I'm talking about. So positive and negative space can mean a couple things. Positive space typically tends to be lighter. Like if you're thinking about Star Wars, it's the light side of the Force versus the dark side of the Force. But that doesn't always have to be what it means. It can also mean the subject of your drawing or your photograph represents the positive space, and the background or whatever else exists on your paper or your photograph besides the main object, that's the rest of the space. And you could think of that as the negative space. And it doesn't mean negative necessarily in a bad way, it's just a way to differentiate between two different types of space. And so, if you've ever seen the famous yin-yang symbol that looks like this, it represents a balance of dark and light. In many different cultures, there's a balance that you have to maintain between sides. Okay? So, this would be the positive and the negative, and they're equal, they're symmetrical. This one is white, but it has a dark spot out of the middle. Well, we put that spot over here, and the dark spot gets a spot over here. So anyway, it's balanced. So, when we talk about positive and negative space in this picture, it makes your picture more interesting if you have a balance of both. So some of your picture could have a dark background, and some of it could have a lighter background. So I'm going to pause this really quick because you probably don't want to watch me color this whole thing in, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've finished coloring in the background, so we have positive space and negative space, kind of even. And now I'm thinking my rocks look more like snowballs or jellyfish without the tentacles floating in space there, but that's okay. So we've done blue. I think I'm going to do red here so that it's kind of even. So that means the inside of this thing needs to be blue, so I got to be thinking about that. Alright, I wish I had you live so I could get some suggestions from you. So since this has a good balance of negative, I think I want to do something more positive over here. Maybe I could do some, maybe I can try and do some plaid. You guys know what plaid looks like? Kind of like checkers, but with different shades and colors of lines that overlap each other. Just outlining this real quick. I think it would look cooler if it was outlined with black, but okay, so I'm going to, I don't really have any lines going, well, I guess I do kind of have some lines. I'm going to do some thin lines first. Okay. And then I'm going to go this way, and I think I'm going to add some thicker lines. You guys could really do any pattern you want in between. You can do bubbles, zigzags, mountains, sticks, swirls, candy cane stripes, just up and down stripes, vertical, or you could do left and right stripes, horizontal. You could do big dots, little dots, big dots and little dots. Okay, so there's my start. I need to sharpen my pencil to make this look better. Really, this would be cool if it was red and blue, so I might break my own pattern and add some blue stripes in there too. I think that would look neat. So I'm going to go rogue and make an artistic decision to do some blue stripes in here too, to really make it look plaid. Oops. I hate it when that happens, when you sharpen it and then the whole top breaks out. My blue is almost going to be non-existent by the end of this. Okay. So I'm going to do, actually I'm going to do a blue line on either side of this red line. And then we're going to need more lines going this way. It seems like too many lines. I probably should have just stuck with one. Because I did a blue on either side of the red, so that means double blue lines. Which I probably shouldn't have done. You live and you learn. Okay, so now we need some lines going back this other way. Should I do blue or red? Probably should do a blue. Let's just do one skinny one first and see how that looks. Oopsie. I feel like there's too much blue. Too many blue lines now. Make that one a little bit thicker. Maybe I'll make, this is what I'm going to do. So the two blue lines, I'm going to make a solid. Now the blue is beginning to kind of overtake my red section, but it's fine. So one of the cool things about plaid is that they really do overlap each other, and so you get different colors than are initially in the pattern. So like if you have a yellow shirt with blue plaid stripes, the yellow and blue mixes to make a green, and so you kind of get the illusion that you have green stripes in there when really it's just yellow and blue. So right here, even though it's red and blue, red and blue paint mixed together makes purple, so you almost have a little bit of an illusion of purple where they meet right here in the middle. It's almost like its own square right here of purple. Alright, there's some plaid. Some good plaid. Now I'm thinking this was going to be blue, but there's so much blue here that I think I'm going to make this red. Just solid red. How do I want to do that? I don't want to do lines because we already have lines. Okay, I'm going to do this one. So this one is kind of like rainbows, or maybe mermaid scales. I don't know how you would call that, but all you do is kind of go wherever there's like a little crease, an indent, and you add some layers of arcs like a rainbow. And I'm going to stick to 3 arcs each time, so it has kind of a consistent pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't know why I picked, but that's what I picked. I think if you're consistent, it looks more like a pattern you meant to do on purpose. There. That one's kind of interesting. I think I'm going to leave it not colored in because it stands out better that way. Okay, so now we've got 1, 2, 3, and a little guy space left. Maybe for this one we'll just do this and call it good. So we probably need a red here. Maybe I can just do plain scales. No, maybe something with lines. So I'm just going to do straight lines here. I might do like candy cane stripes. Something else I've seen is patterns like that you would see on fabric. So like stars, you could just do stars, or you could just do hearts or smiley faces. Or you could think about like a deck of cards. You have all the shapes on a deck of cards: diamonds, spades, hearts, clubs. You could choose to do all of those. This kind of reminds me of like a circus tent. Oops, not coloring in the lines very well. Okay, I'm just going to leave those straight like that. And then over here, I feel like we need some zigzags or something. But what color shall I choose? Probably blue. Chevrons. Let's do chevrons. So chevrons are kind of like zigzags, patterns that just follow each other. You've probably seen them before, like this. want to try and like follow the line that came before it if you can, so you have the same pattern, and try to stay the same distance away. Now I could either leave them or I could color in every other one. I think I'm probably going to color in every other one, but I'll wait and do that in a second. And then down here, what do we want? Probably something more rounded, since we have a lot of lines that are straight around here. Something roundy here. Maybe I'll just do like regular mermaid scales. So I'm going this direction. So mermaid scales. Look like this. Okay, so they're just little hills, little humps that you start in the middle of the previous hill, like that. And then you end in the middle of the next one. So, middle, 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 middle. If there were a hump here, then that would be in the middle. They look like scales to me, fish scales, dragon scales, some kind of reptilian or amphibious scale pattern. Like that. And if you want, you could put more designs in them, like this one or something, but I think I'm just going to leave mine. And then I'm going to finish it off probably by coloring in these chevrons. Every other one. And you probably don't want to watch me color all those, so I'm going to pause it so I can finish. Alright, so here's my finished product. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of Captain America, Frozen, plaid country style, snowballs or jellyfish, bricks. This kind of reminds me of the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland for some reason. This reminds me of circus tent. This just looks like a cool clothing design. Mermaid scales. Anyway, so your Zentangle, it can be however you want, using whatever pattern you want, but I would ask that you please try to make it red, white, and blue. With my upperclassmen, we're going to do something very similar, but we're doing a flag instead with red and white stripes and then something blue up here with the stars. So, they're going to look neat. Alright, I hope you enjoyed. When you're done, make sure you take a picture of it with your device, and once we get you set up on Artsonia, you can upload it there, or you can send it through Canvas or Google Classroom, whatever is easiest for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.